California just lost over 800,000 residents in the last 4 years. And honestly, that number is accelerating. The largest insurers in America are literally refusing to write new policies in the state. And if you're sitting there right now thinking about buying a home in California, I need you to hear me out, because what I'm about to break down might actually save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So look, here's what's going on. And I know, people have been saying California's dying for like a decade now, right? But this time, the data is it's different. It's not just people complaining on Twitter anymore. California recorded its first ever population decline in 2020, and then it happened again in 2021, and again in 2022. We're talking about a state that for basically the entire history of America was the place people moved to. And now, the U-Haul trucks leaving the state are literally more expensive than the ones coming in. That's not a joke, by the way. U-Haul actually charges more to rent a truck leaving California than entering it because demand is so lopsided. A one-way truck from Los Angeles to Dallas will run you like $3,200. The same truck from Dallas to Los Angeles around $1,100. That pricing gap alone tells you everything you need to know about which direction people are moving. And then you had the devastating wildfires in Los Angeles in January 2025. The Palisades fire, the Eaton fire. We're talking about entire neighborhoods like gone. Thousands of structures destroyed. And what did that do? It basically broke the insurance market in the state where the insurance market was already on life support. State Farm had already announced it was not renewing 72,000 policies in California. All states stopped writing new homeowner policies. Farmers Insurance cut 69,000 policies. This is not, small stuff. These are the biggest names in insurance saying, we're out. Now, most people are focused on the political side of this. They're arguing about climate policy and regulation and all that. And that's fine. But what nobody is really breaking down, at least not in the way that actually helps you, is what all of this means if you're trying to buy a home. Like, what does this actually mean for your wallet, for your mortgage, for your ability to build wealth through real estate? Because here's the thing. I talk about housing markets and real estate on this channel all the time. And I've got to be honest with you. The numbers coming out of California right now are some of the most alarming I've ever seen. And I don't say that to be dramatic. I say that because when you actually sit down and do the math, which we're about to do, the case for buying a home in California has basically, it's essentially collapsed for the average person. Okay, so let's actually get into it. Let's talk numbers, because I think that's where this gets really real. The median home price in California as of early 2025 is sitting right around $850,000. In some metros like San Jose, San Francisco, parts of LA, you're looking at well over $1 million. The median. That means half the homes cost more than that. Now, let's do some quick math. If you're buying an $850,000 home and you put down 20%, which, by the way, that's $170,000 just for your down payment, which is more than the entire price of a median home in states like Ohio or Alabama. But let's say you've got it. You're financing $680,000. At current mortgage rates hovering around, 6.5 to 7%, your monthly payment, just principal and interest, is going to be somewhere around $4,300 to $4,500 a month. But wait, we're not done. You've got property taxes. California's property tax rate is technically around 0.75%, which sounds low, right? But 0.75% of $850,000 is still like $530 a month. Then you've got homeowners insurance, and this is where it gets really ugly. Because if you can even get insurance right now in California, you're probably looking at $200 to $400 a month minimum. In fire-prone areas, way more. Some people are reporting premiums of $5,000 to $10,000 a year for basic coverage. And if you can't get private insurance, you're pushed into the California Fair Plan, which is the state's insurer of last resort. And let me tell you, that coverage is bare bones and it is not cheap. So all in, mortgage, taxes, insurance, maybe HOA if you're in a condo, you're easily looking at $5,500 to $6,000 a month for a median home. To comfortably afford that without being house poor, you'd need a household income of what, like $180,000 to $200,000 a year? The median household income in California is about $96,000. You see the problem? Like, you literally see the math not mathing here, right? And by the way, that $96,000 income, California has the highest state income tax in the country. The top marginal rate is 13.3%. So that $96,000 is getting chewed up by federal taxes, state taxes, and then you're trying to make a $6,000 mortgage payment with what's left. Honestly, it's insane. And I really need to hammer this insurance point home because I don't think people fully understand how serious this is. When you have a mortgage, your lender requires you to have homeowners insurance. That's not optional. So when major insurers pull out of California, and we're talking about companies that collectively covered millions of homes, what happens? Well, first, the remaining insurers can charge basically whatever they want because there's less competition. Simple supply and demand, right? Second, more people get pushed to the FAIR plan, which was never designed to be a primary insurer for millions of people. It was supposed to be a temporary safety net. As of 2025, the FAIR plan's exposure in California has grown to over $450 billion. And there are real questions about whether it could actually pay out if, God forbid, another massive wildfire hits. And here's the part that nobody talks about. If you currently own a home in California and your insurance gets canceled or your premium doubles or triples, what does that do to your home's value? Think about it. If the next buyer can't get affordable insurance, they either can't get a mortgage or the total cost of ownership goes through the roof. That suppresses demand. That suppresses your home's value. So you're not just paying more to live there, your investment is potentially losing value at the same time. That's like the worst of both worlds. I actually saw a stat that said in fire-prone zip codes in California, home values have already dropped 5 to 10% relative to comparable homes in non-fire-prone areas, specifically because of the insurance issue. And that gap is expected to widen. So now the obvious question, if not California, then where? And this is where it gets actually kind of exciting, honestly. The data from the U.S. Census, from moving companies, from real estate platforms like Zillow and Redfin, it all points in the same direction. The top destinations for people leaving California are Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Tennessee, and Florida. And the reason is pretty simple when you look at the numbers side by side. Take Texas, for example. The median home price in Texas is around $340,000. That's less than half of California. And Texas has no state income tax, zero. So that person making $96,000 in California, in Texas, they're immediately keeping more of their paycheck and their mortgage is literally half. Like, that's not a small difference. We're talking about potentially $3,000 to $4,000 a month in savings between the lower mortgage, lower taxes, lower insurance, lower cost of living. Over 30 years, you do the math. That's over $1 million. Or take Boise, Idaho, which, has gotten a lot of Californians in the last few years. Median home price around $450,000. Beautiful state, great quality of life, no wildfires burning down your neighborhood every October. Phoenix, Arizona, median around $430,000. Massive job growth, especially in tech and manufacturing. TSMC is building semiconductor plants there. Intel has a massive presence. There's actual economic momentum. Nashville, Tennessee, median around $420,000. No state income tax, booming economy, incredible food scene, culture. I get why people are going there. And here's what's really interesting from a wealth building perspective. A lot of these markets have stronger appreciation potential right now than California does. Because California is arguably at a ceiling. Affordability has been stretched to its absolute limit. But markets in the Sun Belt and Mountain West, they're still growing. They still have room to run.
So not only are you buying cheaper, you might actually see better returns on your investment. That's the part that really gets me, because people think leaving California means sacrificing wealth building, and in many cases, it's actually the opposite.
Now look, I want to be fair here. California is still California. The weather's incredible, the job market in tech and entertainment is still, it's still massive. The beaches, the mountains, the culture. I get it. I really do. Nobody's saying California isn't a beautiful place to live. But there's a difference between a beautiful place to live and a smart place to buy a home. And right now, in 2025, with insurance companies fleeing, with home prices completely disconnected from incomes, with the tax burden being what it is, the math just doesn't work for most people. And I think deep down, a lot of you watching this already know that. The data is just confirming what you've been feeling. So if this video was helpful, if this, actually gave you something to think about, do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. I break down housing markets like this every single week. I give you the real numbers, the real data, no fluff, no hype. I just tell you what the math says. And if you want to know which specific markets I think are the best places to buy a home right now in 2026, let me know in the comments. I can make a whole video on that. It goes deep into the cities where the numbers actually make sense, where you can build real wealth through real estate without needing a $200,000 salary just to qualify for a mortgage. I'll see you in the next one.